Hi, everyone. Caitlin McGray is here, founder of Be Her Village, and I am joined by Laura Otten, licensed clinical social worker from Therapy for Motherhood. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
And Evelyn Page, a licensed clinical social worker in practice in Huntington, right? You're in Huntington now?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And both are on the Be Her Village website. We're here to talk about the quarantine and the mental health issues surrounding the quarantine. So what are you guys seeing in your practice from the women that you're working with?
I know I've been seeing common themes now, and they're mirroring my own experiences as well, which speaks to how we're in the same boat with this. So I started noticing that this past week, it felt like week 3, and the mood had shifted. And this past week was, okay, this is the new normal. And I'm starting to lose my mind. Like, this is feeling like the early postpartum days. I kept hearing that, kind of those like bleary, long days of, the first couple weeks postpartum, the isolation, that common theme. But then also this feeling of like, okay, so this is my world now. What do I need to shift? What do I need to tweak? So my partner, my kids, and myself, we're getting what we need out of this. Because this isn't a 1 or 2 week thing. This might not even be a month thing. This is months.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about that today of like, okay,
Yeah.
what are these tweaks that we need to add into our days to make this more manageable?
That's great. Are you seeing the same things, Evelyn?
Yeah, I feel like since that first week, there's kind of been that theme of like, okay, like what is going on? Like kind of week 1, week 2 of just like, I don't know if I can do this. And then like Laura said last week, there was a lot more of like, okay, I've kind of figured out a routine and here I am kind of balancing like my work, my partner's work, kids at home. And a lot of uncertainty was coming up. And so I also work a lot with just women that have struggled with infertility. So that theme of like the uncertainty came up of like, I don't know how to deal with uncertainty, but oh wait, I have dealt with uncertainty and like kind of going through IVF cycles or waiting to find out if I got pregnant. And yes, this is a very different situation, but a lot of people kind of finding their own resources of, yes, I have dealt with uncertainty at some point. And
Excellent.
starting going into this week where people are kind of stop thinking about like how long this is going to be and just like Laura said, like this is kind of just the new normal and we're adjusting to this.
Definitely. It sounds like some feedback. Everything you guys are saying echoes my own experience where it was like the first week, it was just so much confusion and there was a change every single day in the news cycle. The second week felt like absolute utter crisis. The world was falling apart.
Yeah.
And now I'm in this new place where I'm literally like thinking about how to break up the monotony. Like, how do I make the morning different from the afternoon? How do I make Monday through Friday different from Saturday and Sunday? Because the options for how I used to do that are so limited. You know, there's not family events, there's not visiting friends, there's not play dates, there's not date nights and babysitters. I just got into this like wonderful place in my life where I was hiring babysitters and hosting parties and like really prioritizing my social life. And the universe was like, nope, that's all finished.
Yeah.
I was like, I liked my life and things were going okay. And with a lot of my moms, they were getting to a really good place and feeling that way of like, all right, things are better. And then this not really knocked us all down. But as Evelyn said, when she's talking about the people who are going through infertility, what we do as therapists is, helping to draw on the strengths that we have and the experiences that we have had and what's worked, because we don't need to like reinvent the wheel here. So even though we've never gone through this, and I heard the word unprecedented, like, oh my gosh, a dozen times a day.
Times.
So sick of that. So it is unprecedented. However, we have had endless days before. We've had scary times before. We've had uncertainty. We've had strain before. So it's like, okay, well, what worked then? What can you kind of reimagine now to be using? What coping skills? And for a lot of us, the new moms, they might be coping skills before kids, because when kids come, your hobbies go out, your relationship with your husband or your partner might be in a different place. So it's like, all right, how, like you said, how do we break the day up to be more manageable, and what can we be doing throughout the day and in the evening to be feeling better? Because this is the reality. And I think it was the second week I wanted to throw a tantrum. I felt like my toddler, just like, I want to stomp my feet and scream and say, I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this. Make it stop. And now that the tantrum's over, it's like, okay, I've ranted and raved, and now I need to settle into this.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly it. Like the end of the second week, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to go back to my life that, like Laura, like you said, like I had kind of set up my life how I liked it, and I was like settling into a new routine. You know, between just kind of like starting my own business and having my kids off at daycare, and then, you know, all that went out the window.
I find there's like a divide almost, and not that I ever want to like sow division, but I really liked my life before the pandemic, and maybe the pandemic and the quarantine is helping me see how much I liked it, but I had worked really, really hard to strike a balance of my kids, my marriage, my friends, my work, my family, and my downtime and my alone time and my family time. And I feel like I've been speaking to people, and some people, you know, it's like, oh, we should all be grateful for slowing down, and we should be grateful for this. And we, you know, and a part of me is kind of like, I don't want to be grateful because I was slowed. Like, I had done the personal work to slow. I had prioritized. I had, you know, and I find almost the people who are, and maybe it's just like they're seemingly enjoying it, but they're not really. But the people who are like so grateful for all of these challenges, maybe it's because they weren't, you know, they weren't so happy with their life before. So there is this, but I don't know, there's like this sense of like, some people are filled with gratitude, or at least it seems like it. And I'm a little bit like, you know, I'm not really that grateful for this time, because, and I'm enjoying my family, I'm enjoying my kids, but there's, I don't know, like I didn't feel like I needed to slow down. I felt like I was really happy with the balance I had struck. And I also feel personally like I had taken like 7 years to get to that balance. Yeah. And then as soon as I struck it, like the world ended. I don't know, I'm trying not to take that personally too. Is this something you guys are seeing, like a different reaction from different people? Is it a universal collective response? I mean, I think there's a collective anxiety, certainly, and boredom and discomfort and grief. But yeah, how do we move forward? What does that look like moving forward? I know for me, little things like this, getting dressed, seems so basic, but it helps so much, because the days that you don't get dressed, I just am like a lump. Even if I'm
it's just like very blah.
Oh my God, it's like, you don't even, I look at pictures of myself, oh my God, I used to look good, you know? So what kind of things can women who are now in this new phase of, okay, this is life, right? Like, this is going to be, it's not going to be over in a week. It might be over in a month. It might be over in 6 months. But what can we do moving forward to kind of adjust to this new normal, whether we want it to be here or not?
I know what I've said, I think I said to every single one of the women I work with and to myself this week was, I need time for me. And it really struck me when last week I was like, okay, I'm going to exercise. I used to, that was a huge coping skill for me pre-pandemic, huge for me. So, and I'd stopped in that like 2-3 week like panic tantrum I had. So I did it, and then I'm like noticing the dust underneath the table I had in the room, and then my child is on, you know, watching TV, so I feel guilty about that. So my mind was spinning with, I should be engaging with her, or I should be cleaning, or, you know, I'm spending this precious toddler nap time doing exercise. I can't even enjoy it. So then it was like, oh my, and then I see all of my clients, I'm talking to them about like, you still need you time. And you used to have that, whether it was on your commute, whether it was going to the gym, or, you know, just that break in the day when you get home from work, whatever it was, you had it. You know, I work on that in therapy with my clients to create that even early postpartum time. And I'm not getting that for myself now, and they're not getting it. So we're constantly with our family. We're constantly either being mom or professional, kind of professional, slummy
as professional as we can be.
professional from like here up.
From here up.
And then trying to manage the house, not to mention the anxieties and the, trying to do the food and the isolation piece of it. So it was like, okay, talking to the partner about like the partner needs time for him or herself to do a hobby or an activity or sit in the car alone with a snack or whatever it is, fun. Where they're not thinking about the dust under the table or the kid being on TV or screen time. It really needs to be separate from that. And whether that is picking up an old hobby and bringing it back, or going for a ride around the neighborhood, or a walk by yourself. It's something where you're not wife, partner, or mom, or professional, where you're just you. And so that's something I've been working on for myself as well.
Sounds really healthy. What about you, Evelyn? What are you finding is working for you or for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of creating a routine was really important for so many of my clients, and then myself also. Like at the end of that second week, where my partner, my husband, and I kind of sat down and like, okay, this is like kind of what we have to do. And we came up with a really rough schedule of just like things that we can do in the morning, things that the kids can do, because we have 2 little ones at home, and kind of what the afternoon would look like, and just have options. So, whether it's like, coloring time, arts and crafts time, outside time, just so that we had something to go to if we just sort of came to a loss of like, okay, what do we do now? We can just kind of look on our little board on the fridge and be like, okay, we can do this. Or, and then I love to cook, and that is something that has always been very like soothing to me. So I've like started like just having them help me cook, which they did before a little bit, but now we have like cooking classes. So they can mix and pour things in. And I also just kind of let it go, like let the mess go. Like they're going to get messy and it's fine. I've got plenty of time to clean it up. So it doesn't really matter how messy the kitchen gets. So that's been really helpful too. Like having a routine, but having it be very flexible too. So that it's kind of like a go-to thing. But nothing like super structured. So I don't feel like I'm going to fail at something else if I don't
see those rigid schedules on social media that were like 8 to 8:30, like 9 to 10. And then I saw, so that happened for a few days. And then there's this huge backlash. And all I could see was like,
keep kids alive.
Crashing, like canceled. Or like, everything's just like screen time and eating snacks. And there's this happy medium, like you said, of just, this is flexible. Here are some ideas. If the kids are happy, let them be. Just let it be. That's one of my like number one rule. Like if everyone's playing happy, even if I want to go for a walk or do whatever, I'm like, no, just let it be until someone starts to throw a tantrum or gets fussy. And it will change.
And I know
flexible is so important.
Yeah. And for us on this past Monday, actually, we completely threw our routine out the window, because over the weekend, as we were cleaning up just random parts of the house, we actually found, I have no idea where they came from. And this house is pretty old. My in-laws had lived here before. There's a box of N95 masks that we found in our basement that were brand new, like 10 masks. And I have a very good friend who's a nurse, and I know their supplies are running out. So on Monday, I took the kids in the car and I said, we're going to go on a little road trip, because we have not left the house in the past 3 weeks. I went to our friend's house and I dropped them off at her doorstep, and we chatted a little bit through the screen, and it just it totally broke up the day, which was really nice. And I think I also needed it was like weird to be in a car even, and drive somewhere for 20 minutes. So we did that, and it was like nice, because like, at least I could talk with my 4-year-old about like, we're doing something to help somebody. And like, she doesn't have like a concept really of what's going on. But it was like a nice thing to do. And, it really did and like our nap time got thrown off a little bit, but it was fine, because it was like a fun, like little adventure to do.
I had a similar, we found 10, I guess they come in packages of 10. We found a package of N95s, and I dropped them off at 2 different midwives' houses. One at Winthrop and one at Huntington. and driving was like, it almost felt like I forgot. Like I know how to, it's like riding a bike, but it was really, really strange.
Yeah, it was very
one
surreal.
of the things, Laura, that you just kind of hit on, I wanted to talk about is this pressure on parents to homeschool.
Pressure on moms to
Thank you. I am, by the way, opting out of that. I'm not homeschooling my children with any of the things that their teachers are sending. And I've sent messages to the teachers thanking them for their hard work and telling them that we're doing our own thing. But my husband, I wanted to kind of mention it because my husband is a teacher. So it's interesting to get both sides of it, right? So he's there working all day, every day, creating content, sending assignments, trying to help his parents of the special needs children that he works with who have a hard time learning in person, and it's basically impossible virtually. So he's more supporting the parents with everything. He's trying to work to justify his salary and justify his position right now, because that is essentially what he has to do. And the parents are drowning. All the parents are drowning. Nobody's okay because the teachers are producing all of this content just to justify their salaries, just to try and produce something for their administrators. And there's this huge disconnect between what the administrators are requiring of teachers and what parents actually want. The vast, vast majority of the parents that he has interacted with and the people that I have spoken to in my own community are completely inundated and overwhelmed with the amount of work that is sent home. People are asking for less. I personally, from my oldest son's school, I hadn't even taken a breath yet. I hadn't even exhaled yet with the news of everything that was happening. I was still in full crisis mode, and I was getting emails about homework being due. I remember being like, oh, no, that's not the priority right now. We're not doing
I think you described yourself as a fainting goat last week or 2 weeks ago. And I read that and I was just like, oh, bless. Like I can completely picture it, just like panic, faint.
Just any amount of stress, and I just fall over onto the couch and I don't move until the stress is gone. I get up for happy hour and I go back to the couch. It's really
not the healthiest.
Not the
healthiest.
But it's where I was, and I was trying to let it ride and not judge it. But like, there's so much pressure on women, on moms most of us were working, right? But even if you're not working, regardless of your situation, homeschooling, the way I look at it, I'm like, I did not sign up for this. This is not what I signed up for my children. I don't believe that virtual learning I already have an issue on a separate pre-pandemic level with virtual learning and screen time and the emphasis of technology and data and all of that, and not this in-person hands-on learning. So then to go to 100% overnight, the pressure is just overwhelming, I think, for the teachers to produce and then the parents to try and implement it. And I love that you said, like, let's focus on their mental health. Let's go for a drive. I mean, how much are your children learning, Evelyn, in that mom found something that's really valuable and we're going to go do a good deed. We're going to go in the car. We're going to give, we could hoard these. What they would have learned a different lesson if you were like, oh, I found these. Let me hoard them so that, so that we can have them if anything happens. No, there's people that need them right now. And giving them, they probably learned so much more in that one trip than they'll learn all school year, for sure.
Yeah, it was, so mine are little. They're not in they're in daycare, preschool right now. So like my 4-year-old had just started like phonics at school, which she was really excited about. And so I was kind of sad, like, oh, she's not going to get to go to her phonics class. So I went online, I printed out a few of like the letter tracing things, and we do them here and there when she gets excited about phonics and wanting to learn. Like this week, like we're sort of doing the letter A. But we do that for 10 minutes, and then when she's done, she's done. I'm not going to push her to keep tracing letters or finding words that start with the letter A. When she remembers, and we praise it and she gets excited, and that's it. Like, she's 4. Like, I'm not gonna push much more than that. And if I can think of, like, her name ends with the letter A, or actually both my daughters' names end with the letter A. So when they remember it, I'm like, yay, that's an A. And that's it.
You're done for the week. You got it.
Otherwise, it's kind of like, let's just pull out the sticker books and put stickers all over this piece of paper. and that's fine. And it's an arts and crafts project. It's sticker time, and that's it. And the rest of the time it's just like, it is kind of free play, which I do think kids need anyway. Like, they don't need so much structure. So that's kind of how we've handled. My little one is she's not even 2, so she just does whatever her big sister does.
Yeah.
That's it.
I want to quote one of my clients said the best. She has a couple of older ones, and it was feeling that pressure, and she said something like, she was trying to talk with me about that balance, and she's like, I'm trying to create a loving and caring home first, but and then she's going on, I'm like, whoa, let's like rewind and let me just repeat that back. Like, you're trying to create a loving and caring home, period. And that comes first. And it was like, well, yeah, of course. And no matter what age. So like, I'm in a similar boat to Evelyn. Like, I don't have that pressure, but I have friends and I have clients who do, and I've been hearing a lot of that. The foundation here, the number one priority, is that your kids are healthy and safe and are learning, if they are anxious, are learning skills on how to manage that. So a loving and caring home. And then the school stuff will get there, but like, that's not the most important thing here. So I think remembering that to take the pressure off. I'm not saying like, if you have middle schoolers and high schoolers and that looks a little different than the 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds, but it should still be the same of a loving and caring home. If your child's struggling right now with stress and anxiety, just as I would talk to someone and talk to myself of, all right, well, what do I have control over? All right, we have these masks. I'm going to help donate these masks to people who need it. Or, we are okay financially. I'm going to donate money. And hey, do you want to donate money to the older child? Like, what do I have control over? Let me do that. The most important thing right now is keeping ourselves healthy, so we're not adding to the burden on the healthcare workers. So we're talking to our kids about that. And then the school stuff, if, with the younger kids, when they want to do it and they're excited by it and making games out of it. My child was collecting pine cones, so we were doing math problems with my pine cones, and then she got sick of it. And so we moved on. Loving, caring home first.
I love that. I think it's great for the people who are struggling most with the schooling right now, if that's like the point of the day that everyone is dreading, and there's this flashpoint of, conflict surrounding it. It's nice to hear from mental health professionals that are moms themselves that it's okay to let that go. It's okay to prioritize the mental health, the physical health of your children.
Yeah. I mean, I've also heard from a lot of teacher friends that they're also expecting kids to regress. Like, they're not expecting, whenever we do go back to school, they're not expecting kids to be exactly where they should be time-wise. They know they're going to have to go back and review all of this stuff. So nobody's expecting all of these parents to somehow overnight have gotten a teaching degree and know how to teach and know how to homeschool, which is like a whole different animal than sending your kids off to school. Yeah. I've even heard from teachers who are like, I never wanted to homeschool my own kids, and I'm a teacher. So
that's me.
That felt like,
I do have a teaching degree, but I don't want to use it because I really believe in child-led play-based learning. And for my own mental health and for their mental health, because my children are going through a stressful time. I mean, this whole thing is a crisis. I saw a meme that I think best captured it. It was something like, we're not working from home. We're at home during a crisis trying to work. It's like,
there's a reason you don't take your kids just to work with you every day, because you can't do 2 jobs at once.
Yes,
there's no way. So,
and a good perspective to take that I've been trying to think about for myself too is like, when we look back on this a year from now, or look back from this 20, 30 years from now, like I try, imagine like your grandkid coming to you to doing a report in school, and they're asking you about the pandemic of 2020. Like, well, I made your mother do her flashcards every day. And she learned her multiplication tables. Like, no, like we would want, and I would want this story, this narrative to be one that we gave when we could. We supported others. We tried to stay safe. It was scary. We lost people. Maybe we'll lose loved ones. I hope not. But we want this to be a story of love and survival. and the lessons we took away from it of what's really valuable, what's really important to us. And I think about that too, of the healthcare workers and how they're not, so many of them aren't with their kids right now. So my house is a mess. I want to rip my hair out sometimes, but I'll take that over an empty house where I can keep everything clean.
Right.
And my mom's echo that too. It goes back to Caitlin, what you were saying of like, I don't feel grateful about this. I think we all feel grateful and resentful of this at the same time.
And it's okay.
We are complex creatures, and we can do that. And that's actually a wonderful thing, because it honors both of those sides. It's saying, you know what, I can feel grateful for all this, but I'm also human. And when my child is, fighting with each other and throwing tantrums, no, I'm not happy in that moment and feeling grateful for them. But overall, I feel both of these things at the same time. And that's okay.
Yeah, I love that, because we are capable of holding different emotions at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing right now. There's so much going on that we're holding all of this all together. And we can do that. We're able to do that, and we'll figure out a way through it.
That's beautiful. Thank you guys so much for creating the space and offering some validation and some personal experience, and for making the time for this. And thank all of you for watching and listening. We will be back next week with more content.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.